Deep in the backwoods of the Australian outback lies a disheveled small shack. The wooden boards are graying and barely holding together, and the windows are boarded up with wood salts. On the outside, a locked door and his tarnished silver padlock clings onto the frame almost desperately. If you peered through the gaps of the wood, you could see inside of the shack. However, all that lay beyond that salts was deep darkness. No one quite knows why the door remained padlocked for so long, but locals whispered the stories about a missing Bluey Healer episode that held within its doors. Legend has it that the episode of a children's show featuring an Australian cattle dog named Bluey Healer was broadcast in the early 90s, although that wasn't possible because it came out much later. The episode featured images of inexplicable and terrifying imagery that left all who saw it rattled. The episode was never spoken again. Around the padlock door of the shack remained shut. That is until one bold night when a curious teen decided to see if the tales of the lost episode were true. The teen then picked the lock and ventured into the shack, stumbling over boxes filled with old VHS tapes and cassette players. From the corner of the room, he found an old TV with a VHS recorder and an old tape that labeled Bluey Healer. When he returned home with the tape and faded and all scratched, after a wave of anticipation, he plopped the tape into the VHS player and pressed play. At first it seemed to be an ordinary episode of Bluey Healer, but then it quickly turned into darker images of Bluey Healer in the middle of a darker forest, filled with horrific creatures and otherworldly beings began to appear. The teen then froze on the couch, his eyes widening in disbelief. The episode grew even darker, showing Bluey being taken away by evil forces and disappearing with that of a pool of black fog. The episode abruptly ended with a message that Bluey Healer will never be seen again was said. The creepypasta quickly spread throughout the small town, so much so that no one has ever attempted to open the door of the shack again. So still to this day, the episode remains only an urban legend. With locals avoiding the shack lies the plague of the lost episode itself of Bluey Healer. There was a popular Australian-produced animated series called Bluey Healer, featuring exploits of a spunky young dog named Bluey. It quickly became the show of choice of children anywhere. Sunny days were spent watching Bluey exploring the wide open spaces of the outback, trading wisecracks with the pals Chalky and Bingo, and using the imagination to solve all of his problems. However, there was another far darker side to the show. Rumors began to circulate of a secret episode, one that was so creepy and downright terrifying it could turn some fans into holding balls of terror. The episode was called The Bluey Healer Lost Step. The premise was simple, but disturbing. As the intro plays, we are shown a peaceful night in the Australian outback. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appears in the night sky and descends upon a startled Bluey. He recognizes the figure to be old and mysterious woman, clad in white dress and carrying a cane. She then introduces herself as the Hidden One and speaks of a long-lost step, a secret Bluey had forgotten a long time ago. Bluey quickly finds himself trapped between curiosity and fear, uncovering the secrets from the past. He never knew what he had. As he travels deeper into the night, Bluey discovers that the Hidden One is not what she seems, and that he must find his forgotten step to save himself from the great terrible fate. The Bluey Healer Lost Step episode never aired, and it's unclear to why it was never released. Some say it was deemed too terrifying for children, a fear of potential backlash, and kept it buried. Others said it was just simply too expensive to produce. Whatever the reason, it remains as mysterious as Bluey, and one that continues to haunt the memories of those who have heard it. There is this widely beloved children's show that featured a beloved character by the name of Bluey Healer. Everyone loved Bluey with his adventures and lessons that he unknowingly taught to the children. However, there was one episode of the show that had never aired, and it was so frightening that even the creators of the show were scared of repercussions such an episode would leave. The episode followed Bluey on his most terrifying adventure. Bluey set off a journey to a small town of Wolfendaw, a town that's shrouded in the mystery, overshadowed by a towering mountain. As Bluey proceeded into the town, soon came face to face with a pack of giant wolves. Frightened, Bluey quickly ran in the opposite direction, only to be slowly cornered by in a small alleyway. It was at that moment Bluey notices the town sheriff and an old man of a too friendly face, almost as if he sensed that there was fear within Bluey's heart from the presence of the wolves. The sheriff offered to rescue him, but Bluey was too scared even to move, accepted the offer. They had said their goodbyes to the pack of wolves and quickly set off into their journey. As they continued their long journey, the sheriff began sharing with Bluey a secret. It was a fear that passed through the great generations that Wolfendaw Mountain held a secret much too dark to be shared with the world. Of the Wolfendaw Mountain was in fact a giant graveyard where all the wolves were patrolling. It was their lost of souls of the dead. Bluey, scared for his life, is unable to look away, look down in horror as the sheriff then led him from the wolves' grip and safely back into reality. However, it was there that Bluey convertedly learned the truth, that what the Wolfendaw Mountain was not a graveyard, but instead was a portal, a gateway between the living world and the dead. After facing a heavy backlash from the producers of the show, Bluey's adventures to the Island of the Dead was completely wiped away and replaced with much more manageable episode. To this day, very few people and creators, even the viewers of the show, are well aware of Bluey's lost episode and the lessons that he had learned that day. In the winter of 1970s, a young television producer named Jim had a strange obsession. He was convicted with the deep within the archives of the long-forgotten children's show Lay Kept a Secret, one that he let alone would discover. It was an obsession that would lead him into a small-town library in rural Minnesota, where he found an old dusty VHS that labeled Bluey Healer. Jim had never heard of the show, but he was drawn to it and eagerly propped the tape into the player and began watching. But soon Jim discovered that it just wasn't any episode of Bluey Healer. It was an episode that was meant to be forever forgotten. The characters in the episode spoke in a sinister force that had taken over the world and caused the chaos in the episode of spoke in a sinister force, but of course in the destruction in its wake. As the episode progressed, it became clear that the sinister force had gained control of the beloved Bluey Healer character. Eventually, Bluey was driven away and driven mad, leaving the world of Bluey Healer emptier than ever was before. Jim left horrified of what he had discovered, but also felt strangely compelled to share this find with others. He had created a bootleg tape of this lost episode to spread the story through the internet. But of course, videos appeared online of the episode, and the legend of the Bluey Healer lost episode took a life on its own. To this day, it remains a topic of a conversation amongst the cult of classic series and a piece of the past that will never be forgotten. It all started a few years ago when I first heard about the lost episode of Bluey Healer. I had recently started watching Bluey Healer, a popular children's show starring a lovable Blue Healer puppy. Everyone knew I was a fan of the show, so I heard about the lost episode. I was naturally intrigued. The episode was rumored to have been shot a year before the show debuted. When Bluey was still a puppy, supposedly, it's supposed to be an extra long episode, and it was something special. Unfortunately, no one has ever seen it. According to the legend, Bluey was kidnapped for the episode, and it all happened during the night. While most of the cast and crew were away on break, a masked man snuck into the set and he took the puppy hostage. Then he had proceeded to shoot the episode he had claimed that the world had to see. When the cast and crew heard about what happened, they all rushed to the set, but the man was gone. They searched for the hostage puppy, but all they found was a tape of the lost episode. To this day, the tape has yet to be found. Some people think it may still exist, but no one is sure of what happened to it after the masked man left with the puppy. It's unclear why the man wanted to shoot the episode or what became of Bluey after he was kidnapped. Some say the man just wanted to show the world something special. Others claim it was something much more sinister, as if the lost episode was intended to be a warning. Whatever became of the tape, one thing is certain since that night: no one has ever seen or heard from Bluey Heeler ever again.